Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to partnership of, this is not partnership of greatness, this is the ministry, because I miss my wife so much, and we are always together. But in the station, we have the former Vice President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Neva Sekwila MUMBA. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Pastor Chiluba. It's an honor to be here. To those that have joined us, we look forward to a wonderful program, engaging program for that matter. Thank you so much.
And how is your wife and family?
Florence is doing very, very well. Our children, they have grown now. By the way, I've got 5 grandchildren since 2 weeks ago.
Only?
Well, listen, I'm going to have another one, God willing, next month. So I'll be 6 next month. And the guys are not resting at all.
And you know that you would tegufika?
No, I know that, but the guys are doing pretty good. This is like a relay. If you don't catch up now, it may be difficult for you to catch up.
You know, of all the bishops in Zambia, I hope you know that I'm the only Pastor Shimpundu. So that double anointing gene
can jump in any time. I know that.
When it starts kicking in, one after another.
But it's such a joy to see the next generation, just continue to expand, and especially if you believe that you have placed God's word in these children, you see the propagation of it into the next generation. So I'm a proud grandfather, and I just love it. I really love it.
No, you've got evidence, because the beards has got
confetti. But it's not just mine. Have you seen your head?
No.
So mine is here, yours is in this.
We are talking about you. And part of it...
I think the challenging thing, Pastor Chiluba, is if you have grown up with a childhood friend, like I have with you, and looking at each other at every stage, just to realize we've got some great stuff going on, I think this is really amazing. It tells us that life is not stagnant.
But something that blesses my heart? I always tell this story. When you and I, my wife, when we were coming from Mondola, we jumped on your Land Cruiser then, and we had a puncture.
In Kapiri.
Kapiri,
yes, I remember that.
And we were there for about an hour.
More than that.
More than 1 hour.
Yes,
and
yes.
We couldn't find anybody to help us. So when everything was done, remember you said, boy, abantu abeshi befe tukabakontesa
nalabe eminina tugiba
selif nokutupera nomba bale mona byati nibakawaya they don't know that
motoka yama puncture. No, I remember that.
Destiny and the greatness was in
being prepared,
being formed, and we are so grateful to the Lord.
Thank God for that.
Let's just take a commercial break of the ministry, and then we get straight into the interview. And you must understand that we are on Facebook, YouTube, and you can call on Skype.
Oh, okay.
You can call on Zoom. You can call. May God bless you. Let's just take a commercial break, and we'll be back.
Msika is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on Msika. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnetvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Camnet TV World News. For a prompt response, call +2609 53 995 099 or +2609 62 444 726 or +2609 711 77467. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Good evening once again. Like I said, in the studio we have Dr. MUMBA, the former Vice President of the Republic of Zambia. You know that title, God gave it to you and you have served at that level and nobody should take it away. You know, we are quick to call, oh, General Chiluba, General so-so, when people have retired, but we don't recognize people like yourself and His Honor, the former Vice President General Brigadier Mianda, His Honor, the former Vice President Kavindere. Why is it so? Why are you not called by those titles even when you are being addressed? Could it be its government policy?
No, I think that there are two things. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the fact that I think in recent times, I think that subject has been handled by Cabinet Office. There was a time we didn't appear on any government program. Even when we were present for a government function, official function, we didn't appear on the program. When they say the arrival of so-and-so, the arrival of the, the vice presidents or the arrival of the security chiefs, chief justice, they jump the vice president and go straight to the former presidents. But now when you look at government programs, it appears as though Cabinet Office has decided that they recognize that the vice presidency is also part of the presidency. But yes, I think there was a problem. There's still a few problems with this office in terms of its recognition, but I think that things seem to be improving. Of course, when you go around the region, the former vice president, it's an institution. Whether you're in government or not, you're still, you still have incentives from government. You still have a driver, you still have a vehicle, you still have a security, and you still have a salary.
Is that so of Zambia?
No, in Zambia, no, you don't have anything. In Zambia, you don't have anything as a former vice president. But in Zimbabwe...
When you were leader of the House, as the vice president, did you know that there will come a time when you will be out and those inadequacies were not addressed? Did you address them?
Yes, we talked about it. But you know, when you are the substantive holder of the office, it sounds selfish for you to say, do this for me. So I spent a lot of my time as vice president dealing with the conditions for Dr. Kaunda. You know, I was in the forefront of fighting that because it was the former president's office that I felt that needed to be properly established, that they should not be having any trouble after they retire. But whenever the issue of vice president came in, there was very little enthusiasm, from, the people to acknowledge it as a part of the presidency. So you can't force something. The way you legislate, it's part of public policy. Public policy goes with consensus. It has to enjoy a certain wind of support for you as a leader to bring it to the table. I didn't feel that it had that support. Now it's gaining momentum because when I go to see the former Vice President Guy Scott, or Kavindele, or even General Mianda, I think it's not right the way that they are handled. But that's the way it is. It is what it is. I can only say that since Cabinet Office has started to recognize us, maybe it's a process that other former vice presidents coming ahead of us are going to receive the respect that the office provides.
Why I am saying this? Because I've seen that as politicians, you don't pay attention when you are serving in office to make Woodland's cell clean. But once you are thrown in there,
no, you're absolutely
that's
right.
when you say, this government doesn't even bother about human rights and the condition.
Absolutely
when
right.
people are serving, they don't pay attention. But when they come out and they are thrown there, or maybe you are in the opposition, you are thrown there, that's when you say, you see this government. You start pointing.
But one would hope that after one experience of a government that proves they realize now this is not the way life should be. You expect that the next government will not repeat the mistakes of the last government. But it's almost like a bug that comes into every political leader who is in power. They forget about all that. They start to think, two things happen. They start to think that the prison is only for the opposition or other people who are not in government. So investing money in cleaning up the cells or prisons is not a priority. The other thing that happens is also the hospital. That we feel that a lot of them during the time when COVID-19 was not here, a lot of political leaders flew out of the country. They went to South Africa, they went to India to receive medical attention. So they didn't really identify with the average Zambian who went to UTH. And UTH, you go there, the smell meets you and stuff. But once you leave government, that's where they take you there. Then you realize what's wrong with this government. And I think this is 56 years since we got independence. One would hope and believe that we have all learned, from the previous administrations. And I hope that we do not have to repeat the same things.
But what I think, this is what I think. When I look at President Kaunda, the way he was hounded out of office by the late President Chiluba, when I say hounded, the way he was removed, he lost the election quite okay. But the treatment he received was not good. President Chiluba leaves office. The way Mwanawasa handled him, it was not good. And I think there is just this syndrome to outdo the previous, and I'm seeing it also in America. Trump is always against
Obama. What he did.
To say this is Obama who did this. This is Obama's. There is that in wanting to look good and to say I am better than what you are dealing with. Why is it so?
America has never been like that. In fact, the Trump experience is the first time that you see that in American politics.
Yeah, but Zambian situation,
I'm just trying to get an example, then I talk about Zambia. So Trump has amazed America because you don't go after the gentleman who was before you to try to embarrass him or to make him look small. It's almost like a public policy position for America that, leave the previous president govern because now he belongs to a certain family of presidents of America and they have a certain dignity that they carry for each other. Unfortunately, this president in the United States, does not think that is important. But when you come here, there are many things that amount to that. First of all, there is a feeling that I have to demonstrate that I'm better than that guy, and then I have to teach that guy a lesson, because when he was in power, he taught me a lesson. And this is why I insist myself that, you see, when you see violence between a party in government and a party in the opposition, you have a crisis as a nation. Because even if you changed governments and put the opposition party that has been fighting with this other one, once they take over, they want to deal with the previous administration.
That's right.
Because you say, you did this to us, so we are going to make sure that we teach you a lesson, and it becomes a perpetual backwardness. But the one who suffers is the Zambian person, because development cannot flourish in the middle of political competition of who can punish the other more than the other. And I think that at 56, we have grown now. there are certain things we should just abandon. So if somebody is violent in the opposition, do not expect them to be non-violent when they get power. Their violence that they had in the opposition will only be magnified by the office that they now hold. That is why it's incumbent on all of us in the opposition to learn to withdraw from anything that looks like tit for tat, ugly for ugly, and stuff like that. Because once you take over, it doesn't end with you. That same power that that was fighting you in government becomes opposition. So they also say, okay, you did this to us when we're in government. We're also going to do the same to you. It's a perpetual problem. It must be cut by a certain fresh way of thinking. And you and I need to be able to talk about this because we run into the same problem. I'll give you a very good example, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. The MMD when we were in government, Patriotic Front under Mr. Michael Sata, which you are very familiar with. You knew President Sata very well. There was a feeling that there was a cat and dog kind of fight between MMD and PF in opposition. Michael was vicious with his words. He was vicious in the way that he made his point as opposition leader. And as the saying goes, they don't think there's ever been any opposition in Zambia like Michael, because Michael bit like a snake. So the moment he wins, he never attended any national event because he called it compromising his being an opposition leader. But here is the danger. The moment Michael won the election, the problem came. Because now MMD went into the opposition. And Nevers was in the opposition. Nevers became the leader of the MMD in the opposition. Then Michael calls me on the phone, President Michael Sat. Independence is wise. So I had the honor to answer him. I said, but there's a new administration. So the problem that is there is that the Bible says you reap what you sow. There are certain things you must do just in dignity and respect for your country, not for political expedience. You must attend national events because they are national events. The problem is that those in power try to make them political events, and we should get away from that. Zambia must be rebuilt. And there comes a time when why?
Watch.
Yeah, now it looks like some people want to kolokota the bone even in their grave.
And swallow.
And swallow. And keep it in themselves. So I would like to propose that this issue of violence sounds romantic when you are in opposition or in government, and you think that, some Zambians think that in government, then this one which comes in violence will end. No, the Bible says you shall know them by their fruit. If you're violent today outside government, you will be violent, even more violent, when you get more power. And I think that it's a good subject you brought because we need to address it on this side of the election 2021 so that Zambians do not continue to experience the same thing, government after government. I think we need to end up with a government that can govern without that.
The other thing I've noticed, Doc, that from the time Dr. Kaunda left, every president who goes into there, he becomes a thief. Dr. Kaunda was a thief. Levi Mwanawasa, I don't know, he was a thief. Chiluba was a thief. Everyone who goes in there, they are associated with stealing and a lot of things. And I don't know if I should refer to this because I've heard people saying about your good understanding of the Word of God, and that as a pastor, politician, you have a better understanding of these things. But not too long ago, you issued a statement that when I become president, those who are in power, I don't know what, you remember that? They would wish they were not born.
No, I was referring to corruption.
To corruption.
Yeah, not those who were in government. You will not see vindictiveness from me because it's
those who were corrupt.
Those who not necessarily were, those who are convicted
who be found
to be corrupt.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'll have a very harsh position on corruption. That one I cannot hide. I think that within the first 3 years of my being in office, we must deal with the issue of corruption.
So will you go witch hunting, and how do you intend to take this battle? Because I remember when President Nelson Mandela won the election, he was dealing with that. I think there was a program, National Reconciliation, and also there was something where people were just tendering in what they were doing, and he didn't want to cover the crimes that were done. He said for South Africa to be healed, things must come in the open. I don't know what program he called it. You remember?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. How do you intend to go after corrupt people?
We have actually thought through this process because, first of all, we had the opportunity as a team to look at the kinds of money that are lost through corruption. And when we looked at the figures, we thought that the debt repayment would be done in a faster way. The quality of life of our people would be greatly improved if there was no corruption. So I come from that place where a few people should not take the futures of the rest of the citizens in their pockets. The process we have is, first of all, there'll be moratorium, for instance, for the next 6 months. Those of you that have stolen or that believe that you misbehaved, stole, or took something corruptly, that you can surrender it, or you can come report yourself. It's like the amnesty. That's the word you are looking for. It's amnesty in South Africa. That you can come and bring those things, and restoration and restitution. And once that is done, then you give them that beyond this point, if you are now caught, then you are going to be handled according to the regime that we will put in place.
You'll be an example to others.
You'll be an example to others. But even then, you will not hear me be vindictive. Because, systems I want a corruption system that fights corruption to work 24/7 even when I'm sleeping. It should not have the touch of an individual trying to fix another individual. The system itself should be smelling at night like a drone that moves around even when we are sleeping to say, papa lifimuapa. And then the drone itself finds out what the problem is. And the prosecution of that person, whether it's my son, my brother, my cousin, it doesn't matter. As long as that national drone descends on them, they must be accountable. Now, to do that means that you have to be mature enough and not try to be God or play God, that you follow Pastor Chiluba because he now has cabinet and so many people are watching him, they like him. Can you try to go over there and find out whether we can question him? That kind of African mentality must not be part of the next Zambia. So for me, I think that following after the former president so that I can make a point, I do not think that's the way it's going to be, but there'll be a drone that will operate in a certain way. For instance, I'll just give you a little example. There are many ways in which we're going to fight this corruption. If you've got 25 houses that you built in 5 years, and prior to 5 years you had nothing, okay? All we can do is to suspect, but we cannot call you a criminal, a thief yet. But we don't even have to take you to jail for the 25 houses. All we do is the agencies of government must now come to you because you were in public life where we know the salaries and the allowances. If there is no correlation between your income or your businesses and what you have, they are going to come to you, and ZRA will just come to you and ask for the receipts of the money that you used to build those houses. That's all they're asking. So you have to produce the receipts. If you have no receipts, you cannot account for that money. So the problem begins there. But if under our leadership, if that is established, that as a matter of fact, you corruptly endangered the future of the Zambian people through your greed and your court, I shall propose to our cabinet that we put a bill on the floor of Parliament to increase the punishment of those that are caught with corruption. to the highest level, including life imprisonment. The reason is put them away so that they can realize that society operates better with people that are working hard, because the hard-working people in Zambia are some of the poorest. The honest people in Zambia are some of the poorest. The criminals are the ones that are swimming in everything. And I think we need to change that. We need to make Zambia, which is a Christian nation, be a haven for those who want to live by the rule of law, those who would like to follow the constitution of this country, those who would like to be moral in the manner they transact and do business. And to change that, we have to have a strong hand to deal with the corruption and the corrupt, so that they are used as a lesson that anybody who dares to go in that direction will wish he had not been born. And I think we're able to deliver that kind of leadership in terms of fighting corruption. But there will be no vindictiveness.
Okay. You've clarified that point. I'm glad, because I was just thinking that you are thinking, should you take over power? President Lungu down, and everyone, they wish they were not born. And
no, even President Lungu knows that in Nevers MUMBA we have equity. The only problem comes in if the system finds you with questions to answer. The only thing I can do, once they take you as a former president for questioning, is only to pray for you. That I pray that things are okay, and you know, that you are not going to be incriminated, and some kind of thing like that. But I cannot interfere in it.
Going back to the United States of America, George Bush made a serious presidential decree when he invaded Iraq under that desert storm, and his son did the same. So Congress, the Senate, was against that decision, that they invade Iraq. But he used this presidential decree. I remember him flying into some Arab nations. You know, George Bush is a pilot. He flew in that jet. And when he ordered the war, and he left office, I remember Saddam Hussein and some Arab presidents saying, now we will go after George Bush. When, was it Bill Clinton took over, isn't it?
Yes, Bill Clinton, yes.
The moment Bill Clinton came in, he said, he's our president.
Oh, yeah.
You touch him, you are touching America.
Yes.
With all the mistakes that he made, presidential mistakes, but Bill Clinton comes and says, you touch him, you'll be dead, because he's our president. What I noticed there is that America, like you said, Trump is a unique individual. He was born for greatness. But Bill Clinton and all this, it's like there is that protection for presidency, because there are certain decisions that you make which you do not want to make, but you make them in the interest of the office. And I remember President Mwanawasa, may he so rest in peace, after he was buried, I still have that clip on my phone, when he addressed the nation, when they said Mwanawasa comes from the dead. He said, those of you that were offended by my action, find it in your heart to forgive me, and those of you who attended my burial, I've never seen anything like that. I saw it with Levi.
Yes.
First time in life.
The same here. The same here.
But he addressed the nation, and he said, some of the decisions I made were because I was president, and I needed to do it. Now, I'm throwing that to you, Doc. As president, you may not be an angel. You may not be God. Not every decision that a president makes will be 100%. He's human.
Yes.
And if you and I don't pray for the president, we don't pray for whoever is in office, they can make costly mistakes. And when you come, assuming you take over power, do you realize that every president is prone to make mistakes, even you after you leave? Do you understand that you can also make mistakes?
Yes.
Pastor, anointed, that you can make certain mistakes?
We make those mistakes as pastors.
Yeah.
We make those mistakes as bishops.
Yeah.
So basically, there is no way that somebody cannot make a mistake. But however, I want you to recognize that that concern has been taken care of by our Constitution.
Okay.
Being knowledgeable of the fact that there will be certain decisions that will be made by the head of state in the interest of the security of the nation, which may not even make sense to the citizens when they're being made. And because of that, presidents have what is called immunity. Immunity is given to a sitting president, even when they leave the presidency, for the sake of protecting them from being taken to the cleaners or some kind of punishment on them for decisions that they made when they were in government. The only thing we're talking about here is criminality. We are not talking about decisions that are made, good or bad decisions. There's a difference between error of judgment by a president, which happens every day all over the world. And I want to insist that Zambia needs to respect the fact that holding the first office in this country places a demand on one's life to make sometimes what may be perceived as dangerous decisions. You referred to George Bush W., the son to George Bush Senior.
Senior, yeah.
He, and the way the Americans do it, even without Congress, which is really not supposed to happen, he can override it and go straight to the American people and address them, my fellow Americans. This morning at 4 o'clock, the special forces took out Osama bin Laden. And that was Obama. And really, at the end of the day, some people may be, the Arab community in the United States might be very angry. They may want to think that, you've done something that offends natural justice, and they may want to, create a case and bring it to the courts of law and stuff, whatever they want to think. But the president is protected by the immunity, not only in the United States, but here as well. I think for me, I see that as enough protection for a president. That's why you notice when President Mwanawasa wanted to prosecute President Chiluba, he had to take his case to Parliament, first of all, to remove his immunity in order for President Chiluba to be answerable to some of the cases they considered criminal. And I'm not saying that a president can hide his criminality in that immunity. Immunity does not necessarily translate into a president doing foolish things in office, because the same law that was made to protect him can be uncovered from him so that the law can take its course, like the case was in President Chiluba's matter. I'm not saying that was the right thing to do. But let me conclude by saying this. I think that there are many things we become sorry about when we leave office, that if given another chance, you say, I'll never do that again. And you referred to President Levi Mwanawasa in coming from the dead speech, when he said, if I did anything that offended you, please forgive me. That's the humanity of all of us. That's the humanity we must see in anybody who is in government. And therefore, I just want to speak to my colleagues or our colleagues who are in government now. Don't do things now that will make it very complicated for those of us that are coming after you in terms of criminality. We agree that you're able to make mistakes because you're human. But don't go out there to take things that belong to the Zambian people or abuse someone in the name of the power that you hold. But be just, be fair. Have a heart for all Zambians. And I think that even when you're in trouble later on in life, that goodness of being fair will be remembered. And people can say, no, this president tried his best. He only failed because he's human. And so, to answer your question, I hear you, but we are not going to see, under our administration at least, there will be no vindictiveness. We would like the rule of law to take root. We would like to have a country that you can depend on the law to defend you. You can depend on the courts to speak for you, whether you're in government or you're not in government.
If you were to be president, I'm sure you'll come with two laws, which is the law of the Word of God and the law of Zambia.
Yeah.
And the law of the word of God is supreme to the law of Zambia.
Exactly.
Because there, the Bible says, forgive. And God has given us the ministry of reconciliation. You see, this leads me to my next point. But before we go to reconciliation, I want to ask this, because it bothers me. As vice president, I'm going back, former vice president, has this government or the previous government looked at you people? Because definitely it's an embarrassment if you as vice president, President Kavindele, General Mianda, Guy Scott, if the government does not look at you people, I want you to know that it's not good precedence. You are number 2. Now, you can't just appoint. You can appoint, now they are called running mates, is equally voted into office.
Exactly.
Now, those who have saved, some have died, gone to the grave, only put the flag on their coffin, former vice president. That's not enough. What incentives are the governments putting in place? For example, have you got a car from the government?
The vehicle I have from the government is the vehicle that you're entitled to live with when you leave government. And it took 15 years to get a second-hand vehicle. But really, at the end of the day, it's like any cabinet minister when he leaves office, or any permanent secretary when they leave office, they go out with a car that they used to use.
Has General Mianda gone with a vehicle?
I don't know. I have to ask him.
Kavindele?
I don't know.
Please ask, because
I know the last time I spoke with Honorable Kavindele, he had not yet received, and you can remember how long ago
he had not received.
No, unless it's in the recent time. But let me say this: I think we just need to change the way we think. Joe Biden is running for president in the United States. They call him Vice President Biden. They don't even call him former Vice President Biden. It's like George Bush, they call him President George Bush. Of course, officially they would say the former president when they're, but on a daily basis, they just call them like generals. You don't say former general, you just call them general. You know, they are no longer serving, but they are still generals.
They say General Chiluba retired.
But you can't say all that in a statement, but in writing you do. But when you're talking to General Chiluba, you just say, but General Mulishan.
That's right.
That's it. So Joe Biden is being called vice president. He's not the sitting vice president. But what they're saying is that that's the status you reached. Okay? Now, we don't have that because it's a threat in the African setup. There was a time that President of South Africa, Zuma, had a problem in his party, and President Thabo Mbeki removed him from being vice president. Now, at that time, we had established a good relationship, myself and President Zuma, because he was vice president at the same time I was vice president. So we met in a lot of places and established a relationship. So when he was going to court and things were really bad for him, I jumped on a plane and flew down to Johannesburg just to go and hold his hand and pray with him. And when I arrived there at his house, I was received by, the security. They got me inside the house. But when I got to his house, I found that there were police cars and the security there. So I asked, when I was with him, I said, what are those government vehicles doing? He said, no, those things I die with them as former vice president.
Really?
Yeah, he says that complement of security, I still get 80% of the salary of the incumbent. I still have my secretary here. I still have my office. And so those things, I die with them, And it's the same in Zimbabwe. They have a similar arrangement in Zimbabwe and several other countries. It's a decision of the country. You must remember, not too long ago, not even Kenneth Kaunda had any privileges in this country. It was a fighting cabinet to get those things established. And I think that we need, as a country, to learn. That's why these people become very volatile. We have, at the moment, 2 former presidents still alive. That is President Chiluba and President Rupiah Banda. But they have...
Not President Chiluba.
No, President Kenneth Kaunda,
yeah.
and President Rupia Banda. The good thing is that their office has been set. They've got houses built by the state, they've got security with them, and they've also got certain incentives. But their vice presidents don't. And so if you were to drive to Guy Scott's house today, you'll be very, very disappointed. You get to the gate, there's no security, you get in there, and we just don't look like we served as vice presidents. And sometimes when you are visited by an international guest, he says, I'm going to see the former vice president of the Republic of Zambia. Then you are calling a taxi to come and get us to, to go somewhere. They are wondering, but what is the issue? The embarrassment goes to the nation, not necessarily to the person you are teaching a lesson or trying to fix.
But this is what I'm saying, Doc. You see, I understand you said you could not place personal demands. You see, the problem that I've committed in this country, you know that I'm a straight as Cairo Road. I fail to keep certain things.
It's a good
feel
thing.
like
It's a good thing. You
I can develop BPs.
Yes.
Because I talk, I am safe. The problem that we have is that even the people that are there, you see, for example, Honorable Kampiongo, I don't know whether it crosses his mind that one day he will leave that office. As minister, the people is saying, I'll sort you out, I'll do this.
Yes.
One day, he will leave that office as Home Affairs Minister.
Yes.
And somebody will send the IG to say, pick Kampiongo.
But can I just say something? That's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
You know, there is a spirit that I think takes over people when they get into government. I have
Was
said,
that spirit also on you?
I don't know. Maybe it was.
Go
I don't
ahead.
know. But look, I think there's a feeling of being indomitable, of being that you're going to live forever. You never, and especially when the police salute you and stand at attention when you're walking, the flag is flying. There's a demon that whispers in your ear that you shall die this way. You are untouchable. But those of us that have left office, we can talk to our colleagues that are in office. Here is what happens. The same policeman who saluted, there was one time they came to arrest me at home. 60 policemen, these things they wear, like they are going for actual combat with another country. 60 of them surrounded my house. The person who came to the door of the house was one of my former bodyguards who was on my detail before. So I let him in that, boss, we have been sent. I'm sorry, boss, but mingabwele naise ku station. Not to do what you can see the difficult. Afterwards, he gets used and start to say, "Kweladimo." Na filefi ya boss ya leka nomba muta ntawe batifuna iwe wanensa yutila. It's the way life is. Government is a system. We come in and leave. I like to say to my fellow colleagues in politics, the job we are involved in, we are all wasting assets. We are not there permanently. Today it's Kaunda, tomorrow it's Chiluba. The other day, it's Levi Mwanawasa. The other day, it's Rupia Banda. The other day, it's Michael Sata. The other day, it's President Lungu. The other day, it's Nevas MUMBA. Okay? So it is important to realize that you will not be there forever. The way you are treating your friends when you are in power, remember that you also be out of power, and you need that guy who comes in to treat you right. So sow a seed that will benefit the rest of the country, so that for a change, let there be a transition of government where we are not spending time fixing each other. Let's get into a phase when we can now look at the needs of the Zambian people to make Zambia the #1 economy on the continent of Africa. We can't achieve that in our current shape of fixing one another. That just doesn't happen. We spend so much money on trying to fix one another. We spend so much time on trying to prove that we are better than the other. Just govern. Just do what is in the interest of the nation. So my prayer is that let's leave the cheap politics of yesterday. Beyond 2021, we must leave the current type of politics and go into new hope politics. Politics that concentrate on making sure that we are fixing problems that belong to people and not creating more problems. So I thought that I needed to put that out there.
I want to ask a question, Dr. Mumba. Is Zambia united? Like Dr. Kaunda used to say, one Zambia, one nation. I didn't know, actually, when I was growing up, even in school, I didn't know this business of saying is Tonga, is Lozi, is Bemba. Those things, I'm just learning them now as a pastor. And do you also see that tribalism is real here?
First of all, I don't want to say that it's a cosmetic division, but like you've rightly put it, Kenneth Kaunda managed, for the most part, to remove that division based on tribe. And I think we must commend him. It was not an easy thing to do. But he used public policy scenarios to create an environment where we can marry from any tribe, live in any province. That really made all of us realize we're one family. As a matter of fact, as pastor, like you've put it, I had a team of 17 pastors on my staff when I was very young. And it's only now that I'm realizing they are tribes. Because for the first time we are talking about tribe. We never used to talk about tribes. We hired somebody because they were called of God, anointed of God. It didn't matter whether they were male or female, whether they were Lozi or Tonga or Bemba. But this now is coming out to be an issue. But I'm not really that concerned, Pastor Chulwa, about this tribal issue as I am concerned about the division that has been brought by political affiliation. I think that we are going to overcome the tribal tag. It will take just another administration, another president who doesn't regard the tribe to be the basis upon which you reward someone. But I think I am more concerned, Pastor, if you can give me a minute, I'm really disheartened at how party politics have actually, I'm not concerned about churches being divided. We have our own problems as a church. But I think that Zambian church people believe that it's either you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, regardless of denomination. So I don't see that division impacting on the quality of life of Zambians. I think, by and large, the church is not too bad in maintaining its unity. Not on issues, but on the fact that we don't fight that you're Catholic, so I'll fight you because I'm Pentecostal. We don't have that.
Yeah, but... okay, you can finish
let me
your
finish
thought.
that because that's important. It's there, but it's not life-threatening. The same with tribal. It's there, but it can be fixed, just like Kaunda had fixed it before. What I'm concerned about is the political cadarism and how people have taken political parties as God-given positions, and they are able to kill each other in broad daylight to defend their political party. This is devastating because development cannot follow a scenario like that. Because if you fought me when I was in opposition and now I am in charge, I am going to follow you to your village and sort you out. That witch hunting is what can destroy and has destroyed African countries. And I think, yes, we appreciate the differences in our political parties, but a political party is not higher than the name of Jesus. It's not higher than the life of your neighbor. It's not higher than your brother. Because now you have a husband who belongs to this party and a wife belongs to that party. And they don't even talk to each other because of the ugliness of the politics of Zambia. And I want to submit that, yes, I am the leader of MMD, but before I am leader of MMD, I am a full-blooded Zambian. And those in the patriotic front, it doesn't matter how you treat me or you want to destroy me, you are also a full-blooded Zambian. It doesn't matter how much you don't like each other with HH and stuff, he's still a red-blooded Zambian. So we have to sit around the table and say, if we are all Zambians, these things, there was no UPND a few years ago when you and I were here. There was no MMD, prior to 1990. There was no patriotic front until recently. So how can these new things that have come put a hedge between you and myself?
But that, Doc, why I'm also asking, because you realize that it also leads to this. Let me take you a step back. If you look at Dutch Reformed Church, you find that most of the people in that church are from Eastern Province.
Yes, yes.
If you look at New Apostolic Church, most of them are from Western Province. If you look at Salvation Army, most of them are from Southern Province.
Yes.
If you look at UCZ, most of them and
from
Catholic from Chinsali and what Bembas.
Yes, yes.
When you look at this, like our church, God Encircling Church,
yes,
you find there are some, even in ministries, it's being pastored by a pastor from Northwestern. They will be like this, Kaondes and what. Those things are entrenched. Yes. And we can't run away from them.
Yes, but the good thing is, Pastor, that's a good thing you brought. But let me say this, if you allow me. There's a historical story for that. It's like when the colonizers came to the continent of Africa. When the British settled here, and Zimbabwe and Malawi, the Portuguese will go and take another place which is not taken. And the French will also go and take the other place which is not taken. Now, the church followed the same thing. When the missionaries came, it depends on which province they arrived in to set their first mission. So those people, if it's brethren in Christ, and they started in Southern Province, that's where the headquarters and the basic teachings of that church were entrenched.
No, that I understand.
Yes.
I'm just saying that because of those divisions, you find that even in the pulpit, that has come.
Yes.
Where if you are from Northern, I'll say, come here, we exchange pulpits. If you are from, I don't know whether you are following. I'm failing to explain this, but there is deep down my spirit, this spirit which must be dealt with. Because if it starts within the churches and you are now talking about politics, look at this, Doc. I rarely read the papers and watch because I'm very careful on what I hear. I don't want to hear negative things about you. I'm that type of a person, you know me. When somebody says something about Nevers MUMBA, I will not comment. I'll come to you. If somebody says something about HH, I've got his phone number. I would rather call him. And my president, Lungu, I don't like, just listening to social media and I make a judgment. But here's the situation. You talking about these entrenched divisions. I am saying that even now, when you hear political parties to say that we should take out Lungu, 1, 2, 3 parties, let's come. It's not that they believe in the same thing. They don't have the same ideologies. They don't have the same. But here, the enemy
is an individual.
Let's take out Lungu. And these are the politics you are saying we should run away from. That we should come to a place where there is maturity and sanity in the way we do things.
Yeah, first of all, let me help. I think by virtue of me, first of all, being a minister of the gospel, there are certain approaches that I have that maybe the next politician may not have. The issue of church and, Reformed Church belonging to the Easterners, UCZ to the Northerners, brethren in Christ to the Southerners and all that. I think the only way you can deal with this is to follow what Jesus said. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. First, if you are going to transcend all these denominational differences, the best thing is to make sure that you are filled with God's love. The bigger picture of your focus is God. Then you love across all those church denominations. The moment you just think you are the only ones, that's where trouble begins. The same with politics. If on the day that we are going to put Zambia in front of us as the goal of our commitment and ensure that Zambia is our focus, then our political parties are only engines to help us make and create a better Zambia. They are not our gods. I am very proud to be president of the former ruling party, the MMD. But the former ruling party comes and goes. PF will come and go. UPND will come and go. And if you differed on the basis of these things which are not permanent, you look like fools when they are gone, or when you are no longer in those political parties that you meet at the graveyard morning, and all you did was fight in the name of political parties that don't exist anymore, are no longer in power. I want to be able to stand beyond my time in politics, anywhere with any Zambian, being able to love each other, respect each other, and plan together to make our country better.
Now, Dr. Mumba, I'm going to say this. You see, I'm a man under authority. I work under authority. I know what it means. I said to one, come. He comes, and he
goes.
Now, I know that there is COVID. You are not going anywhere. In the interest of time, I want you back on Friday next week. I know you have campaigns, but I've got a lot of questions which I want you to answer.
Okay.
Whether you be campaigning somewhere.
You send the plane to come and pick
I won't send a plane. Yeah. You just come back here because those districts, they will see you on this platform.
Okay.
Because I want to open the lines now so that those who have questions can participate. And Mr. Director, please go ahead and open the lines. And I'm so grateful. Because what I believe, Dr. Mumba, Zambia is a great nation. Yes. I don't know, I have this passion, and I know that each one of us, we were born for greatness. If we take off these political jackets, we take off everything, and we say, let's come together, we can build Zambia.
Yes, of course.
In that vein, I want to ask you a question. If President Lungu, for some reasons, because he also needs people, he needs every one of you. If President Lungu just asked you a question and said, Dr. Mumba, hold my hand in this political marriage, and you being a preacher, not hating anybody, would you say no?
But Pastor, you are the one who has just been making a point here saying that two, three political parties get together just to remove Lungu. Is that the politics you want to do? But in answering that question, I want to answer it in two phases. When I was young, I was asked a question by Frank Mutubila on one of the interviews, Frank Talk. He asked a similar question you're asking and said, nervous. If an opportunity came for you to run for political office,
I remember that.
Would you run?
I was watching.
Yeah, so you were watching. Then in my zeal, in my youngness, I said, no, I can never join politics. I'm too, I'm caught to, by
That's
God.
being demoted.
Yeah, that's been demoted. So now I'm in politics. How do I justify that? It's
okay, you answer. There is somebody waiting. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How are you,
How
sir?
are you?
I'm permanent blessed, Pastor. How are you?
We are permanently blessed,
Yes,
sir.
as well, yes.
Good evening, Dr. Evans Member.
Good evening, my dear brother. How are you?
I'm permanent blessed. I'm Pastor Chanda calling from Kitwe.
Oh,
Pasco, please go ahead and contribute.
Yes, please.
Yes. Yeah, Pastor, I think there's one new item you wanted to refer to. When Nelson Mandela came out of prison, when they set a commission, that was a truth and the reconciliation commission.
Okay, thank you.
To investigate whatever they wanted to do.
Thank you.
Just to give you that it was called the truth and the reconciliation commission.
You are
My question goes to Dr. Evans Mumba. My pastor here, he used to be my pastor here in Houston.
Wow.
Dr. Evans Mumba, you are being a president of the new MMD. On the last act, you said what I want to give you to tackle
Excuse me.
It's too loud.
Excuse me. Wait.
Yeah, we couldn't hear him. It was too loud.
It was too loud, and also he was too fast because he was speaking on a very high pitched note. Please, if you can cover Pasco, call back and we will pick up the call. Please go ahead. Sorry about that.
So I was just trying to answer that life, you should not predict life.
Yeah,
life,
when you said,
no, and now I'm in politics. I think that that question can be answered in a mature way, that life happens. But again, the Patriotic Front needs to do quite a lot of work in ensuring that the national agenda for the people of this country is identified clearly if they are going to bring in other people to support them.
Yeah, because why I've asked this, please correct me if I'm wrong. Two offices are very critical: State Council and Vice President. These two offices, I think when they say is a State Council, you can stand and testify for the government. You support the government. Yes. As Vice President, because you have served there, you know the pressure that goes in there. Some of the people who are in politics, who are heads of political parties, they've never been members of parliament. Some of them have not even reached the state that you have gone to as Vice President. You know the intricacies that are there, the challenges. So you are standing on a better platform. Now, President Lungu knows, and he sits there and says, General Mianda, Nevas Mumba, Guy Scott, and Kavindele, these people, they've come close to where I am. Let me go for advice or support. Would you refuse?
No, advice, support, I've always been very clear on that. In fact, it's me who gave that example when I was in India. I was interviewed about what I felt about my country and about the administration. Of course, I've got a lot of misgivings about the way PF is running affairs. But because of being state counsel, by virtue of my office, when I'm out of this country, I am representing my nation. And that's exactly what I said. I'll do anything for my nation because of my understanding of what I represent.
Let's pick up a call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. When you see me writing, please, fidgeting with the phone, I'm writing your details, your name. What is your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Kaunda Bayani.
Kaunda?
Bayani.
Yes.
Please go ahead, Mr. Bayan.
Yes, I'd like to contribute something. You see, pastors, in Africa usually we miss it out. I think leadership is to the politicians who are evil. Instead of taking leadership to the people who are Christians. I think we have time on the occasion spoken to say we missed it out. When my pastor there stood as the presidential candidate. If we had looked to say, like David was a leader and was a man of God, and given the opportunity to preach to rule the country, this country will change. I'm telling you, this country will go to greater heights. Because at least the parameter they have is the Bible. To do things. So if we can help in the future, people who seek to let us put the pastors in place. That if I'm giving yourself, we can be president, I think this country will change. I think that's what we should look at it in that way.
Yeah.
We should not do the politics to the world.
You see, Vakaunda, Mr. Bayan, let me say this before you hang. Being a pastor does not give automatic success in politics. If a pastor has no vision, he has no dream, he has no nothing, even if he was anointed 15 times than all of us, he cannot push this country to another level. It's a calling. Now, Dr. MUMBA here, as an anointed pastor, he steps out because he has a calling, he has a vision, you know, so we cannot say generally if pastors become presidents, they can make it. Others may make it, others may not. Look at President Chakwera. He's in Malawi there. He has that calling. But what I agree with you, Mr. Bayani, I always say this. I know you are Team Cabinet. I've said this, Dr. MUMBA, that 2021, don't vote for a councillor, don't vote for an MP, don't vote for a president who doesn't have God in their hearts. You should go and say, which church do you go to? I remember, sorry to say this, Mr. Bayani, you come back. There was a time when I took offense, sorry about that, when I took offense, Dr. MUMBA, somebody said, President Lungu, alefisama muchechi, alefisama mulilesa. I thought that was a big hit in the church. Umuntu nga tafiseme mulilesa. Umuntu nga tafiseme mu kufisama kunganga. So my view is that everyone, 2021, we should say, which church do you go to? Because if the MP, Dr. MUMBA, has no pastor to submit to, nga bayingira mu office ebabe ne mule mono kweba ati kwati tabakafwe nangu tabakafumbe mu church. So these issues must be tabled very well.
You know, Pastor, I think the gentleman is saying something that I've believed all my years. I do believe that it's not every man of God or pastor that can be just and stuff like that. It's just like it's not every Christian that can be a pastor, because maybe that's not where their strength is. But I do believe that men of God with the fear of God, morality and integrity, when they get into the public
with
office,
a vision,
when they get into office, they will do very well for the country.
Absolutely.
Because instead of stealing the money, there will be that little thing that tells them you can't, because they are not just looking to the people around them, but they're also looking to God. How does He view them? They've also got a future in God. So the people who fear God, my message is that let's put in office men and women of integrity who fear God. Look, this is a Christian nation.
Let's pick up this call, Dr. MUMBA.
Well.
Hello, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yes, good evening, Pastor Chilua.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Dr. MUMBA.
Good evening, my dear brother.
What's your name and where you calling us from?
My name is Chilando. I'm calling from Lusaka.
Slavwe?
Chilando.
Chilando. Is this my church member?
Yes.
Oh, Chilando, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. No, I just wanted to speak to Dr. MUMBA. I remember the time he was being sent to prison to Mwandeshi. We were in that courtroom that day, and the way he was arrested, got onto that truck, went into prison and came back. And when he came back, I heard him on the TV to say he has forgiven everyone who was back to him. I would just like to say he's such a leader. You know, we need a lot of leaders like that in this nation who can forgive, and for the goodness of this country, look to work with other people to move the country forward. Thank you very much. And that, I would like to have, Doctor, sorry to ask on the TV, I'd like to have the number for Dr. MUMBA. Thank you.
That is private.
No, please give it to him.
That is private.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was saying something before. First of all, Chilando, thank you so much. It's not always easy when you are put in prison, but at the end
my
of the
son.
day, at the end of the day, really, it happened in the past. You have to look to the future. You can't hoard bitterness in your heart, because these things, God uses them to shape us, to make us what He wants.
If you don't forgive, God can't forgive you.
No, if you don't forgive, you are the one who carries a burden. And I think this is the problem. While I'm trying to remember what you had asked me, because I was explaining some real good point, then you interrupted me with
my
your
apologies. Please go ahead.
Yeah, but I just want to say this. we all go through difficulties in life. We are mistreated in life, and unjustly so. But once God gives you an opportunity to lead others, you should use those experiences of being misjudged, misused, abused, mistreated as a way of solidifying your confidence in God, and not to let it out on others to say they did this to me and I'm going to do it to them. And some people do that. But for me, I like to use my difficulties, my prison experiences, Mwembeshi, Jimbokaila, Kitwe Central Prison, wherever they took me, as a way of shaping me, because that's how Paul was shaped.
You went to even Kitwe prison?
Yes, I've been to many prisons, but I can't be telling you everything. You are very busy, and so the point I'm trying to make is that those things, we are not any more special than Paul. We are not any more special than Joseph in the Bible. We are not any more special than Daniel, who was thrown in the lion's den. At least I was not. So I think we should use our difficult times and experiences to make us better people. I think that's what I would say at the moment.
We have few minutes. I know that by the grace of God, I must have you next week, because I've got a lot of questions for you, which you have to answer. But if you were president of this country, what kind of investments, what priorities would you put to say, I would like this kind of investment? Will you be hanging on to the mines, copper? What kind of investment?
Well, first of all, I have a very strong view on how we are going to structure the investment policy. Number one, it is important, first of all, to recognize that the resources of Zambia, first of all, belong to Zambians. Anybody who comes from outside this country must come and fortify and encourage the Zambians in the exploitation of their resources. And in the process, they also get some kind of amount to keep their businesses going. But they should never come here and become the masters of our resources. So if there's going to be any investment, it will be in those sectors that are specialized. And even in those specialized sectors, there has to be a great content of the Zambians, a great percentage of Zambians, being represented in that investment. And I think that we have missed it, because we have almost sold our entire country to the foreign people, foreign companies. And they come here and rake all our money and take it to build their countries. Our countries are being depleted, and we are being called poor, and yet the rich countries are built on the poor countries' resources. We must reverse that. My goal is to reverse that. And the best way to do this, Pastor Chiluba, I know time is running out, but I want you to know that I would like to turn under my leadership. I want to remove Zambia from being a borrowing country. I want to stop that thing and go into a lending country. And because I'm driven by the scriptures with that he that borrows becomes a slave to the lender. And this is what we are. I mean, China would come here because they're giving us money. Then you start to put billboards in Chinese in Zambia. Can you go to Guangzhou and put Chichibemba, Uklandati, Apanipa, Paba Mutelo? You can't. They won't allow you. But here we are, because we are slaves to the lender. We cannot just stop being slaves to the colonizers and break that colonizing era and start to call ourselves free, and then lock ourselves into economic bondage, where now we become beggars and yet we have resources. So I'm going to move this country from a borrowing country, and we must get rid of this borrowing so that we can be a free people. We speak what we believe is right, and we speak it when we want to speak it, because we're a free people. And Joshua Nkomo said something very interesting. He said, I've realized late that the fact that you acquire freedom from colonizers does not mean that you are free. Here we are as Africans. We have already gotten our independence, but we are not free.
I like what Mr. Kapwepwe said. He said, these colonizers you have chased, be careful, they will come back in the name of investors.
And
he said that in 1965.
And it's happening.
He said the people you have chased as colonizers, they will come back as investors. To look at this.
But it is all about leadership now. Africa must confess that the way we have governed ourselves is wrong. If it was right, we would have been prosperous. If it was right, we would have been united. If it was right, we would be investors in other countries. If it was right, we would have been the head and not the tail. We are not governing ourselves properly. And anything that does not work, you gotta change it. Reinhard Bonke used to say, my mentor used to say, if your religion doesn't change you, then you better change your religion. And I want to say the same about the politics we're doing. If the politics that we're exercising in this country only divide us and make us poorer, then we are doing something wrong. We need to abandon this type of politics and the way we are governing ourselves. And sometimes it could be just individuals who do not get it, whom we put in power, and they have absolutely no understanding that in order to be prosperous, you have to empower your citizens. You have to allow them to have the bigger part of the cake and not the foreigners. So we will be very careful on how we handle our investment policy. We want Zambians to have the larger portion of any investment that comes into this country. They must control the dynamics of that investment so that the resources of Zambia are in our hands, and then we can get out of debt and start lending to other nations.
Dr. MUMBA, well spoken. Unfortunately, time is not with us. We are in 2 news time. But like I've said, the Bible says, ask and it shall be given. Me, I've asked that on Friday, you'll be here.
God willing, as long as we are still here, I'll make it here.
Camnet TV, I've been your host, Pastor Moses Chiluba, with my guest, Dr. Nevas MUMBA. This has been the ministry program. We are so grateful that you were attentive. Keep watching Camnet TV, because Camnet TV is not just another channel. Let's listen to the menus in case you missed it. May God bless this great nation of Zambia. Shalom, shalom, and bye-bye.